The current scores on the doors are 172 to Sim, 193 to myself. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's see how we did on the weekend, or the midweek fixtures, starting off with Brentford against Manchester City. The game finished 2-2, and we both went for 2-2. So Desmond's all round and 5 points each. And you know what? Brentford should have won this game, man. Brentford should have definitely won this game. They peppered Man City for the majority of the game. How many chances did Man City clear off the line? It was like 3 or 4, literally. They were tearing them apart, Brentford. They really were. And it's like every time a shot got clear off the line, Man City went up the other end and scored. And I really felt for Brentford in this game because they should have got 3 points.
They were also 2-0 down going into the last 10 minutes. So from that point of view, you could probably argue they did well to get a point, because Phil Foden, again, coming up trumps and getting a goal. He's back in the goals recently. A couple of goals, didn't he? Sorry, he scored in this one. So he seems to be back on form. And Man City definitely, going forward, they seem to have a bit new energy about them recently. Maybe having De Bruyne back in the team has really helped them. But Brentford clearly exploited what we thought they would exploit, which is that lack of physicality. Defensively, they still leave so many holes. And I think when you got people like Mbeumo and Wissa, they're just so perfect for exploiting that. And they were really unlucky, probably, to be 2-0 down when they were. But they got back in the game, deservedly so. They got a point. And if there were any probably lingering hopes that if City could go on a run and get themselves back in the picture of the title race, that point probably killed any lingering hopes.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, still a fair chunk of the season to go. But I think they can get top 4. But I think a title challenge is beyond them.
Yeah, top 4. I think they'll be feeling a lot better about, because they're now unbeaten in 4, City, to be fair. And it's there's a draw. They've 2 draws and 2 wins. So starting to get the results again, Man City, to be honest. And they're not losing all those games like they were. So I think they'll be feeling a lot better. They're 3 points behind Newcastle, so they'll be fancying their chances of getting back in that top 4 for sure.
Next up, we go to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea against Bournemouth. It finished 2-2. We both went 2-1 to Chelsea, and Bournemouth were 2-1 up going into the last minutes of the game, and Reece James scores in the 5th minute of stoppage time to salvage a point for Chelsea. I don't know what's going on with Chelsea at the moment, but they can't seem to buy a win
5 games
for love nor money at the moment. And an injury-ravaged Bournemouth go to Stamford Bridge. But yeah, they were leading going into stoppage time, but I think Chelsea probably did more than enough to probably win the game.
Yeah, Chelsea shouldn't have been. I think they were all kicking themselves when they gave away that penalty, because they should have been out of sight by that point. They went 1-0 up. Obviously, Palmer, lovely finish. What composure! The guy just has ice in his veins. It's unbelievable composure from Palmer to score that goal. And then they just contrived to miss a number of unbelievable chances. Jackson being the main culprit, to be honest. He did hit the post, but they were just missing way too many sitters. And when you leave the game open, especially against a team like Bournemouth, they can always punish you. And Clive had got a penalty, and then Semenyo unbelievably put them 2-1 up. And you're thinking, wow, Chelsea are going to lose another game. That would have been 3 losses in a row. No, it would have been 3 losses in 4 if they had lost it. But Reece James coming up the free kick last minute. To be fair, it didn't look like that equaliser was going to come, because yes, they should have been out of sight before the equaliser from Bournemouth. But after Bournemouth went 2-1 up, it looked like Chelsea were running out of ideas, and it needed that special bit of quality from Reece James back in the team, back playing, and maybe a timely reminder of what quality he does have when he's fully fit. It's a nice free kick, albeit, I mean, it's one of those where the keeper will be a bit disappointed. I know it went in off the post, but it wasn't like top bins or anything. So maybe a bit of disappointment. He got beaten on his side, but really nice free kick from Reece James. But again, as you say, 5 without a win now for Chelsea. And, from cert to top 4, they're now in a massive dogfight. Yeah. And they're now, City are 2 points behind them. Villa are 2 points behind them. Bournemouth are 3 points behind them in 8th. And Brighton are 6 points behind them in 9th. So they're really dropping quite a lot at the moment.
Yeah, who have they got?
A lot of knives out for Maresca, obviously. Not like Maresca out, but a lot of people saying what's going on at Chelsea. Why are the performances turned? It's not even like they've had a tough run, really.
Is this a bit similar to Maresca at Leicester, though? Like maybe it's not exactly the same, because they were flying at the top. They were like many points clear, and then they dropped out You know, they went second and then they kind of salvaged it towards the end of the season.
And look who they've played: Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Palace, and Bournemouth. They haven't won any of those games.
Yeah.
It's not like they had a really difficult run.
And you know what? Chelsea go to Man City away in a couple of weeks.
Massive game.
So that is a massive game. But I think it was really important. It was really important in this game, though, for Chelsea not to lose, because if they lost to Bournemouth, then all of a sudden Bournemouth are proper breathing down their necks.
I mean, it's still.
I mean, they are ready, but I mean, it could have even be.
Yeah.
It would have been.
They did well
level points.
Yeah, they did well to salvage a point, but 5 games in a row without a win.
Yeah, it's not good enough for them.
Really poor. So, I mean, yeah, I wonder how, because everyone was praising Rashford a lot, and I'm sure, look, he's still 5th, he's still doing well, but if they were to, as we've seen with Spurs, you go on a bad run of form and you can very quickly slide down the table with how tight it is there. And if they don't start picking up wins, all of a sudden, in a couple of weeks, they could be 8th or 9th.
It's true, but like the expectancy for Chelsea going into this season, it wasn't the challenge for the title. It probably was to be in and around Europa League, a top 4 fight. And that's what they're in right now.
Right now, yeah. Yeah, for sure, of course. I don't deny that. I'm just saying in a couple of weeks they could be 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
Because that's how things can change. But fair play to Bournemouth. A lot of injuries. They had no Evan Nilsson, no Unal, and they got the point. They should have been out of sight probably, but they stuck in there and they got themselves a point. So fair play to Bournemouth. And they're now unbeaten in 5. So fair play.
Let's go over to the London Stadium in a London derby between West Ham and Fulham. It finished 3-2 to West Ham. Sim went for 2-1 to West Ham. I went for 1-1, so Sim gets a point for this one. What is Alex Iwobi cooking this season? I know he was on the losing side, but another 2 goals for him.
I know, but did you see the 2 goals?
I didn't see them.
Both of them were crosses that went directly.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
both of them?
Two direct, and they were saying.
You know, when it's going for you, it's going for you. You know what I mean? And it's going for him this season.
2 in-swinging crosses. The player runs in front of the keeper and he just completely misses it. It happened twice.
But you know, the Potter era is up and running. West Ham at 3 points. I didn't see much of this game, but he did play Lucas Paquetá in the 9, and then he got on the score sheet and the winner.
I think West Ham got massively fortunate in this game.
Did they? Yeah.
Massively, just because the goals they scored. The first one from Soler.
But you're saying Fulham's goal were massively fortuitous as well. So every goal was
pretty much. I think Fulham were the better team, albeit their goals were fortuitous. But West Ham they had 4 shots the whole game. Scored 3 goals, and the 4 shots they had, the first one, Pereira plays the ball across the face of goal, completely misplaces the pass, it falls straight to Soler, who just buries it into the empty net. The second, then Souček scores within a minute and they just capitalise a bit of momentum, they score within a minute of that goal. And then Paquetá in the second half, the keeper plays it straight to him and he puts in the empty net. So they just got completely basically gifted 2 goals, and that's what won them the game here. And that's based off of 4 shots they had throughout the whole game. So they got very lucky to win this game. But Fulham as well, their 2 goals were lucky, and their quality wasn't great in the final third. And they should have probably scored more goals than they did. But they also have to take look. They had 21 shots, so like they had a lot of shots and they had a lot of chances, but the quality wasn't really there in the final third, and they got very lucky with the goals they did score. So I guess they kind of, they only have themselves to blame, Fulham. But fair play to West Ham, first win under Graham Potter, but it wasn't a performance for me that said they still don't have a hell of a lot of work to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, even in Potter, Potter's side to have 44% possession. That's not how he wants to play.
Was that his first game or second game?
He had the FA Cup game, the
first Premier League game.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the top of the table clash. Nottingham Forest against Liverpool finished 1-1. Both of us going for 1-0 to Liverpool. That prediction was out the window after the first 8 minutes with Chris Wood put Nottingham Forest 1 goal up. And I thought it was just another unbelievable defensive display from Nottingham Forest. I thought, Liverpool had a couple of chances here and there, but I think Mo Salah was really well shackled in this game, man. And I think Nottingham Forest got to be really proud with the performance they put in.
I think they had more than a couple of chances here and there. I think they were very unlucky not to win this game. I think first half, Forest were brilliant and they got the lead. They're just so unbelievably efficient in the final third. I don't understand. Every chance Wood gets, he scores. It's crazy. They just are incredibly efficient when they're in their counter-attack. Again, Elanga in the middle. He's on an unbelievable run of form. Brilliant through ball to Wood. And it's not an easy finish. On his left foot, tight angle, and he just buries it, far corner. Brilliant. And I thought Liverpool really did toil away in that first half, and they struggled to lay a glove on Forest. But I did think that completely changed in the second half. They made the changes. They got the goal through Jota
with his first touch, wasn't it?
And then I thought Matt Sells was absolutely phenomenal.
Was, to be fair.
What a performance! That might be one of the best goalkeeping performances of the season, because Liverpool had a series of good chances at 1-1 to win that game. And if it wasn't for Matt Sells, that could have been 2 or 3-1 at least. I thought.
Where did he pluck him out for? He's such a good keeper.
They signed him for like under 10 million, in the French league. He's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and unbelievable. Like Forest, they offered very little in that second half. They had 3 shots and didn't really force Alisson to anything. They were just trying to see out their win. They didn't. They actually conceded from a corner, which is unlike Forest. But Liverpool, again, is similar. It's very similar to a lot of the other games that they've dropped points in, maybe apart from the Man United game. But when you look at the Newcastle game, the Fulham game, and this game where they've dropped points, yes, they have dropped points, but I just can't help but coming away from that game thinking they definitely should have won those games, and there's a lot to take out of those games. They probably come away with a lot of credit. However, at the end of the day, they did still drop points. So when you drop points when you're in a title race, that's always going to lead to negative feeling and not good form. But the Newcastle game, considering the form they've been on since that game, that's actually probably a really good point in hindsight, and they probably should have won that game considering they conceded in the last minute. Fulham, they were 2-1 down with 10 men, and they probably should have won that game with the chances they created and got a point. And then this game, 1-0 down, away at the best defence in the league, probably, apart from maybe Arsenal. And they, again, should have won that game if it wasn't for an unbelievable keeper performance. So I find it too hard to be overly critical. But I guess when you put into context recent performances, United in the league, Spurs in the cup, and this one, the results haven't been good recently.
Yeah. I mean, there has been games where they've won and they haven't been at their best as well. You look at the Southampton game. They got away with one that game, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there have been a couple more in there as well. So I guess it's give and take. But Liverpool have been the best team in the Premier League so far this season, and the reality is they have dropped points in the last 2 games, and they've let other teams back in the title race.
Yeah, they're still 4 points clear with the game in hand, so I don't think they'll be overly panicking yet. But if that gap gets shortened, then I think we've got a real race on.
Yeah. All right, what is next? Next is Everton against Aston Villa, 1-0 to Villa. We both went for Everton wins in Moyes' first game. Sim went for 1-0, I went for 2-1. To be honest, I didn't see much of this game, but I heard that Everton deserved to lose. Yeah,
I think it was a tight game, as it always is with Everton. They don't really give much away, but they also can't really seem to score many goals. But Villa, Ollie Watkins, by the way, who's brilliant response, Ollie Watkins, to being left out of the team for Duran. And after his red card, I think he's scored in every game, hasn't he? Since Duran's come out. Or at least 2 and 3.
2 and 3, I think.
2 and 3, and an assister maybe in the other one. He's done very well. He's done very well since he's a good response to Duran being left out. He took his goal really well, through on goal, and they took their chances. Villa. I don't think the Villa were unbelievable, but they probably just about edged it on chances. And I think the story of Everton's season continued, not being able to score when the chances present themselves. Calvert-Lewin, probably the most guilty party in this one, missing a
once again
chance. Especially that one in the last minute. He missed an unbelievable chance in the last minute and hit it over the bar. So David Moyes said he's struggling to see where the goals are coming from right now, but they have to start scoring soon because they are only 1 point clear of the relegation zone, so they're in a massive dogfight.
Yep, and a big relegation game this weekend against Tottenham, so we'll see how that one pans out. But let's move on to Leicester against Crystal Palace. It finished 2-0 to Palace. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 3-1 to Palace, so I gain a point in this game. And yeah, Palace, the train keeps rolling for them after a disastrous start to the season. Leicester under Ruud van Nistelrooy have been pretty disastrous in terms of results.
Yeah, and I believe Palace, I think that's 1 loss in 10 now, is it, in the Premier League?
Yeah.
So they're really doing a lot better, and I always felt that would happen. They've got the quality and fair play to them. They're on good form, and they're not going to be involved in the relegation scrap, albeit they're level on points with Spurs. But if we're saying Spurs are relegation fodder, then maybe Palace are as well, but I don't think they are. But Leicester, yeah, they just
can't. The difference is that Spurs' results are not on the same trajectory as Palace's results.
Yeah, it's fair. Leicester, so poor. They are very poor, aren't they? It seemed inevitable in this game they were going to lose, and it was Vardy missed a couple of chances early on. He was through on goal and should be scoring the chances presented to him, but when he doesn't put those away, it's always very difficult, and especially when they got the quality of Eze and Mateta and Sarr in the front line, they're always going to hurt you, and that's what they did. Mateta found his goal with a brilliant round in the keeper, and then Guehi with a brilliant finish, by the way, volley at the back post from a free kick, and Palace again deserved the victory.
Yeah. Next up, Newcastle against Wolves. It finished 3-0 to Newcastle. I went for 2-0. Sim went for 2-1, so we both gained a point here. Look, it was a fairly convincing victory for Newcastle, but actually Wolves did have their chances, didn't they?
They did. They did have their chances, and again, Cunha was guilty of missing one. I think of Strand Larsen hit the post at one point as well. So they definitely had some moments, Wolves, but I feel like Newcastle was fairly confident that they were going to win this game, always fairly comfortable, but especially at 3-0 actually. Wolves had a number of chances at 3-0 to make it 3-1, but the game was gone by then. I think Newcastle deserved the win given the game state. I think they'll probably be comfortable. I mean, Wolves had chances, don't get me wrong, but it was one of those where you just felt like as soon as Newcastle scored, it was going to be difficult.
Yeah, that is true, but I do think that 3-0 maybe put a bit of gloss on it for Newcastle. That's just what I'm saying.
Another couple of goals.
This guy is on fire, man. He is on fire. He's the best player in the Premier League right now.
Yeah,
and nobody can touch him. 2 goals and an assist in a 3-0 win.
Incredible. And Wolves from their point of view, back-to-back 3-0 losses now under the new manager against Forest and Newcastle. I know it's not easy games, but still 3-0. Still got a massive job on his hands, hasn't he? They're only outside the relegation zone on goal difference.
Yeah. Let's go to the North London derby if we have to. 2-1 to Arsenal. Sim went for 2-2. I went for 3-2 to Spurs. As 0 points on the table for us. I mean, Spurs go 1-0 up against the run of play after 25 minutes, and by half-time, Spurs are 2-1 down, and we just couldn't claw our way back into the game. I thought, Arsenal were the much better side. They wanted it a lot more than us. And, I thought just some poor performances out there for Tottenham. And when you're judging that performance to the performance at the Emirates last year, it's just, miles apart, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Arsenal deserved the victory, were the better team. What I would say is, obviously, they did definitely get a massive slice of luck with the corner, which obviously shouldn't have been given, and then it comes to an own goal. So very unfortunate for Spurs on that point of view, but they just didn't really have an answer to what Arsenal's defence had throwing at them. Essentially, Spurs were trying to break him down, but never really got anywhere close to doing so. The closest they got on was a shot from Porro, which was never going in that second half in the last minute, and Arsenal were pretty comfortable. But yes, Arsenal definitely put themselves back in the title race with that win, closed the gap to Liverpool to 4 points, albeit Liverpool do have a game in hand. But especially on the evidence of what I was seeing in that game, that front line, if they're going to play like that while Saka's out, I mean, they've also shown the propensity to drop points while he's been out so far. But if that front line is going to play like that in other games against better backlines than what we offered in that game, I think they are going to struggle, and I think that front line definitely did lack quality, in my opinion. So as much as it was a good win in the derby, fair play to Arsenal, they deserved it, and they are back in the title race, but I still think there's massive question marks about that front line. If they don't recruit anyone in the front line, I see more drop points upcoming for them. I
agree with you, but I think the thing that they have in their back pocket that will see them through games is their set pieces. That's the reality. I mean, they're the best set piece team in the league. Gabriel was such a monster, attacking those set pieces, and they do have that as well as their. The forward line is poor, no getting away from it, and they will drop points, and I don't think they're going to win the league, but they will get through some games just by those set pieces. Yeah, they'll be I think they'll be our Liverpool's biggest challengers, don't get me wrong. I mean, they might even run it fairly close, but I just don't think they'll win it because I just don't think there's enough quality in that front line. I agree. Next up is Ipswich against Brighton. Sim went for 2-0 to Ipswich. I went for 2-2. It did finish 2-0 to Brighton. Brighton's first win since November, which is crazy to think about. Which is crazy to think. They first win in 9, and they're still 6 points outside the top 5. They are outside of top 4.
6 points up behind Chelsea.
Which is mad to think about. Like, they haven't won since November in 9 games, and they're still like that close to like the European positions. It's mad. But I thought they did deserve to win this game. I thought Ipswich offered little next to nothing, to be honest, and it wasn't the greatest game.
Yeah, I thought first half was a bit closer. Liverpool had a couple. Ipswich had a couple of moments which the Brighton keeper Verbruggen had to save, but Brighton was still probably the better team. And then once they got that goal, Matoma broke the deadlock. Nice finish. And I actually thought, I was watching the game and I thought as soon as they got that goal, it was actually all Brighton. Ipswich never looked like getting back in that game. And that's got to be a bit of a concern considering did really well to get that win against Chelsea and then followed up with the draw. Where did they draw to? Was it? They got a decent draw, wasn't it? Against Fulham. Away to Fulham. And you're like, okay, are they building a bit of momentum? And then I just thought they were really flat in this game. And Delap offered very little. It seems as though, again, they tried to do the whole Delap one-man army thing up front, and Brighton just dealt with it a lot more comfortably than Chelsea did. That was the truth. And yeah, look, it's going to be difficult. They're still only in the relegation zone on goal difference. And look, Wolves and Everton are not exactly playing well at all. So they'll still feel like they've got a fighting chance, but yeah, it's a bit of a blow considering they built a bit of momentum off the back of the couple of results to put in a performance like that.
Let's move on to the last game of the midweek, and it was Manchester United 3, Southampton 1. Sim went for 2-0, as did I, so we both get a point on the board for this one. I mean, Southampton go 1-0 up, and it should have been more, man. It really should have been more. Southampton battered them in that first half. They really did. Man United weren't at the races. Southampton were really impressive. But I did feel with the second half came, Man United it just kind of switched, didn't it? It completely switched. And I did feel like by the end of the game, Man United did enough to win it.
Probably. I mean, considering they should have been at least 2 down in the first half, that's never really a great position to be in against Southampton. And Onana really kept them in the game. It was crazy what I was watching. I thought Sulemana, every time he got the ball, burning past Yoro, and they just had no answer to it. They just basically had to hope he missed, essentially, and that's what they did.
It was the first game, really, that we've seen like Yoro come under real pressure like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and he buckled, really. I thought Sulemana just beat him always. I know Sulemana's a really quick player, but still, how he struggled was a bit worrying. But they didn't take full advantage of it. Onana made the saves, and when you do that, it's always likely United would get back in the game. But what I would say is, again, Anthony had that big chance, didn't he? When he unbelievable open goal miss. How has he missed that, by the way? He just slid in to the back post where he didn't need to. He just had to stand up and tap it in, and it was shocking from Anthony. He missed it, and then I thought they did actually struggle. They toiled a bit up until the last 10 minutes, and then Diallo just came alive. Hat-trick for him, a brilliant hat-trick, and he just took Southampton to the sword. He pretty much said, I'm going to win this game on my own, and that's exactly what he did.
You know, like this guy, it seems like Amad Diallo, if he's not scoring, nobody's scoring for Manchester United. I thought Højlund was really bad in the first 50, 55 minutes he was on the pitch. Xerxes came on and he did offer something a lot more than what Højlund did. Not maybe a threat on goal, but just that kind of link-up play and being able to bring other players into play. So I think that's probably the way that they should go with Xerxes up front instead of Højlund, because Højlund's just, every time I watch him play, he just offers nothing.
Yeah,
literally
really
offers nothing. But Amad Diallo is the X factor to them. Hat-trick on the day, clutch against Manchester City a few weeks ago as well. So, I mean, he's the one that's really coming up trumps for them.
Yeah, I think United will probably thanking their lucky stars. It was Southampton they were facing, because they probably would have been beaten by most other teams in the league on that first half performance. But they didn't, and they got through it. And yeah, Amad Diallo turning into a bit of a star for them in recent weeks. Brilliant little player.
And we move on to the star men. Sim went for Bruno Fernandes. 0 goals, 0 assists, another blank.
Yeah, it's not great. He got one off the line, and I think he hit the post as well, but wasn't great on the day from him.
And I went for Ismailia Sarr, who got me 2 points. A nice assist for Ismailia, and that brings the score to 180 to Sim, 203 to me. I've broken the 200 mark, and I've extended my lead by 3 points, I think, this week.
Yeah, for now.
All right, well, that is Review the Prem.